All I can say is to my Canadian friends is you don't understand, because I read the media and I listen to other discussions, the president got mad about an ad. The ad that was run by the government of Canada. Oh, that's not the government of Canada. It's Ontario. It's kind of like, I'm sorry, we don't go through that, slicing and dicing. And, it's kind of like no one can ever remember a like circumstance where a foreign government came into the United States, targeting the President of the United States and his policy.
Let's be clear. Canada has every right and every reason to defend itself when foreign policies threaten Canadian workers, industries, and communities. For decades, Canada has approached trade with respect, cooperation, and fairness. And when tariffs become excessive, unpredictable, or unjustified, speaking up isn't interference, it's defending our national interests. Canada is not a passive neighbor. We are one of the most important economic partners the United States has. Millions of American jobs depend on trade with us. Billions in goods flow across our borders every month. And when one country's policy decision create ripple effects that harm families in Ontario, workers in British Columbia, or manufacturers in Quebec, Canada has the responsibility to respond. What we're seeing now is a shift. Canada is refusing to be intimidated by accusations or threats instead of accepting punitive economic actions quietly. Canada is asserting itself, and that's exactly what a strong, confident nation should do. This situation is also revealing a truth Americans don't always acknowledge. Canada has leverage, whether it's natural resources, energy supply, manufacturing partnerships, or cross-border investment. Canada matters. And when Canadian leaders defend their industries publicly, it isn't about influencing another country's politics. It's about protecting their people. The real question we should be asking is this: why does a simple message about tariffs trigger such a strong reaction in Washington? Because it hit a nerve. Because it reminded Americans that Canada knows how to make its case. And because Canada is no longer willing to stay silent while harmful policies continue unchecked. Whether or not trade talks restart tomorrow, next week, or next month, Canada has made something clear. We will stand up for ourselves. We will speak up when treated unfairly, and we will not allow economic pressure to dictate our national dignity. That's not interference. That's sovereignty.
10 days before an election and a couple of weeks before a Supreme Court case would be heard in front of the Supreme Court. I'm sorry, that does not happen in the United States of America. You do not come into America and start political ads, government political ads, and expect that no consequence. It's the government coming in again and controlling that. And expect that no consequences or reaction from the United States of America and the Trump administration. It hasn't, as far as we can tell, it has never happened in America before. And if Canada wants to insert itself and create a new precedent that you're going to participate in our electoral politics through advertising targeting the President of the United States and his policies, I would suggest that you seriously consider whether that is the best way to try to achieve your objectives in the United States of America.
A lot of commentators will try to frame this as a messy political clash within Canada. Provinces versus Ottawa, premiers versus the federal government, but that's not the real story. The real story is that Canadians from coast to coast are unified on one point. Canada deserves fair treatment. Yes, provinces sometimes act independently. Yes, the federal government has its own diplomatic strategy. But that diversity is exactly what makes Canada strong. We are not a system where every voice is expected to echo one message. We debate, we disagree, and we challenge each other because that's how a healthy democracy works. Contrast that with the narrative coming out of Washington. When Canada speaks, they call it interference. When Canada expresses frustration, they frame it as crossing a line. But Canadians are acting out but Canadians aren't acting out of aggression. They're acting out of necessity. When tariffs hit jobs in forestry towns or in auto plants or in manufacturing hubs, local leaders feel the impact first. Of course, they will respond. Of course, they will defend the people they represent. And here's what Americans sometimes forget. Canadians aren't anti-American. We are pro-Canadian. We want a fair partnership, not a lopsided one. We want cooperation, not intimidation. We want trade that benefits both countries, not policies used as political weapons. And when disagreements happen, Canadians respond with something Washington often underestimates: patience, professionalism, and pragmatism. We don't escalate, we don't threaten, we stay steady. And that steadiness gives us credibility at the negotiating table. Canada's diversity of voices isn't weakness. It's proof that Canadians don't accept top-down pressure. We think for ourselves, we act for ourselves, and we will always defend our people, whether the criticism comes from abroad or not.
So a question that's not, do you think that will restart, or we will get somewhere? Because obviously I mentioned earlier,
It will restart. The question is when.
neither of us know. It seems like.
I've got suggestions that I think can get it restarted, but it's not going to be easy.
If the United States thinks that strong words or diplomatic pressure will discourage Canada, they've misunderstood who we are. Canada is entering a new era, one defined by economic independence, strategic confidence, and global leadership. The world is changing, and Canadians know that relying too heavily on one trading partner is vulnerability. So, what does Canada do? We innovate, we diversify, and we create trade deals with Europe, expand ties with Africa, strengthen partnerships across Asia, and build resilient supply chains that don't hinge on one country's mood swings. This moment, this tension with Washington won't weaken Canada. It will sharpen us. It will push us to invest more in domestic production, support our energy sector more aggressively, and champion Canadian-made solutions. Instead of worrying about sudden tariffs or political unpredictability, Canada is preparing itself to stand strong in a world where economic alliances shift fast. Canada has something rare: stability, credibility, and global trust. When Canada speaks on the world stage, people listen because they know Canada doesn't bully, doesn't provoke, and doesn't play games with national economies. And that reputation is worth more than any single trade disagreement. The future of Canada-US relations will eventually settle. Talks will restart, deals will be signed, but Canada won't forget this moment, a moment that proved why standing tall matters. Canada is not America's junior partner. We are an equal sovereign nation with our own values, our own priorities, and our own vision for the future. And no matter how loud the criticism gets, Canada will keep doing what it has always done, charting its own path with integrity, resilience, and unmistakable strength.
That's right. There was that one time where this guy was talking about some stuff in the Netherlands. Let's look at that.
Are no-go zones in the Netherlands, and that cars and politicians are being set on fire in the Netherlands.
I didn't say that. That is actually an incorrect statement. Yeah, we would call it fake news.
Is that
I
fake
never
news?
said that.
Because it's what
But
you
I
literally said.
No, it's not what I said.
You know what's coming next, right?
The Islamic movement has now gotten to a point where they have put Europe into chaos.
chaos in the Netherlands. There are cars being burned. There are politicians that are being burned. And yes, there are no-go zones in the Netherlands.
So now Pete knows that there is indisputable physical evidence that he did, in fact, say